As a veteran media personality, what is your take on this charter schools system that they're trying to impose on and the neighborhoods, especially in the inner cities?
Good. The whole charter school situation is a very interesting thing, the privatization of education. And of course, when you look at it, it can be looked at in various ways. But if you ask me for my own opinion, basically, I see charter school as a step in enslaving or re-enslaving our people, bringing our people back to chattel slavery. In fact, I see the charter school system as a system that will eventually ensure that every single person of African ancestry, every single black child will be prepared for a prison system. That's what I see charter schools as. In their immediate appearance, they look good. And to many people, they think that these schools are doing great things for their children because, many of them have a kind of military environment around them and, seem to be disciplining children and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But people need to be very careful about how they think about it. In fact, I think this should be a sign to the black community that we need to take responsibility for educating our own children. And in fact, if the charter school system offers an opportunity or an opening for us to do it, that's what we should do. So if schools are being handed over to private individuals, then black people should get some schools for themselves too, so that we should get the charter schools in our community. If we could organize ourselves to do that, then we would have, carried out a very successful coup against the system. That's the best thing. That's the best thing I can see coming out of charter school for black people at this point in time. But otherwise, I think it represents disaster for our children and their future.
I want to go back to Zimbabwe. Again, the Western world is attacking Mugabe so much that he is not even in a position to run his country. This was a guerrilla leader, a commander who fought from the bush back to the city. These were monies in the Lancaster Agreement that was supposed to be given to Mugabe for the land reforms and settlements for its white farmers. If they want to go to Australia, they can pack their bags, take their money, and go. They are not talking about that anymore. Can African journalists and media personalities investigate this, at least let our people know what is happening? Even this, the Lancaster Agreement, there are a lot of Africans who visit me, and when I ask them about the Lancaster Agreement, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, once again, as I mentioned earlier, we are the only people who have engaged in warfares, and then having won the war, we go to a treaty table and give away our victory. And that's what the Lancaster Agreement was. You've seen the same thing in South Africa. When we win a war, rather than make the enemies, rather than make the enemies suffer, what we do, we accommodate them and say, oh, we're brothers and sisters now and we're friends because you have decided to stop fighting. No, that's not the way it is. And basically what they do, they use a treaty to set us up. So that they can keep us exactly where they had us before. And that's what happened, because you see, the Lancaster Agreement actually set up a 20 years period,
right,
over which, it was a 20 years period by which the British would pay the farmers. And of course, that was 1980 to the year 2000. When it got to the year 2000, they said, hey, go away, Zimbabwe, we're not going to do that. you crazy? You see what I'm saying? And then, of course, they'll paint Mugabe as this wicked person who is now taking away lands, legitimate lands from these white farmers. Well, you know, it's an unfortunate thing that he did what he did in terms of signing that agreement, because what should have happened is that when the war was over, the Zimbabweans, or Mugabe at that point in time, should have moved to settle everything then and there, land and everything. But you see, divide and conquer in place again, because what it is, there was so much haste, so much rush on the part of the leadership of the different factions in those the colonial countries to earn the leadership, the management of the country, to get the big house, the presidential palace. And that is why they sold out themselves. Rather than making decisions that would have long-lasting benefits for African people, they sold out their long-term benefits for short-term gains. And these short-term gains were just to make sure that, you know, whoever the rival faction was, you'd get the presidency over. And that's what happened. You know, if you look at the various factions that were, you know, at that time.
Yes, ZANU, ZAPU, and all that. Right.
Yes, if you remember all of that. That's basically what happened. You see, and you know, you see the same thing playing out in South Africa again, reconciliation and all that kind of stuff. That's what has happened every single time. You know, those are some lessons, some historical lessons for African people to use and to analyze as we move forward. The question is, are we paying attention? You know, once again, you mentioned the journalists. You know, do we have African schools? Do we have African schools of journalism that teach African journalists how to report and to record events in an African sense, in an African perspective, in the interest of African people? You know, if our journalists are going to Cambridge and London and Harvard and Columbia.
Even those in Africa, right? Even those in Africa, since Kwame Nkrumah was removed from power, the School of Journalism, or schools of journalism in Ghana have been drastically, you know, modified. In the old days, there were some words that we didn't use in our vocabulary. Words that describe black people as inferior and all those things. We didn't do it. You know, anytime Europe wrote a story about Burkina Faso, the first thing they say, they're one of the poorest nations in the world. Who cares? Is it a nation? African reporters and writers are repeating the same thing.
Those are African reporters, right?
Yes. Now, and last time I went home, this is some of the things that I was talking to the, you know, students in the universities. Why do you always repeat these things? Why are you saying that Burkina Faso is the poorest nation? Who cares about? Is it a nation? What do you want to talk about Burkina Faso? Why can't you just go ahead and talk about Burkina Faso? Can't go ahead and write about Burkina Faso instead of trying to describe it as a poor nation? Who made it poor? Right? So these are some of the problems we are having. But then we have to devise a means.
Absolutely. And that's precisely what I'm saying. I'm saying that we have to once again recognize that the greatest asset that we have as human beings is our intellect. That's the spring of creativity. That is what caused our ancestors to build monuments like pyramids, you know. So what I'm saying is, when we begin to recognize it again, then we'll see the changes. Because at this point in time, African people are thinking that we're inferior. We're thinking that anything good that's going to happen to the world has to come from the white man. I remember having a discussion with a young man one day who told me that in order for us to move forward, we need to get technology from white folks. You know.
Well, to get white folks.
If we think like that, tell me, how will we ever be equal to anybody else, much less be better than? You know, so you see, we have to recognize that within us, we have everything we need to solve all the problems we have and to make ourselves great again. That's the foundation.
In the beginning, I mentioned that I mentioned all the good work you are doing in the community, and we'll run credits for our viewers to show, you know, what the things you do. But if right now we are almost running out of time, my viewers and listeners, if they want to contact you, how do they go about it?
Well, the best way to do that would be to give us a call, you know, at Vegans Light. Our telephone number, we have a toll-free number, 1-800-775-8999. That's the best way to contact us now at Vegans Light.
Okay, can you repeat that?
It's a toll-free number, 800-775-8999.
Brother Jawara. I rather prefer to call you Brother Jawara because of the long names that we use. I thank you very much, you know, for gracing my show.
Indeed, and I thank you very much for the invite. It was very enjoyable. I thank you for allowing me to share my views with you and your audience.
Good. African traditionalism defines difference. The underlying word is different. Different is not deficient. Different is not primitive. Different is not uncivilized. Different is not ungodly. This is how others live their lives. They don't pray to the devil. In fact, they're more saintly than most believe. If you are a regular viewer of Divine Speech, I appreciate your patronage. There's an old saying that every journey begins with the first step. With your permission, we have just embarked on a journey with African traditionalism. The more we know, the well-positioned we are to respect other cultures and their belief systems. I also hope we can make a difference together. I look forward to seeing you in my next show. May Nawine bless you.
May Nawine.
All right.
Bless.